Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Mr. Rocks. In this episode, this is lesson 8B in our PhatKids tutorial, making an ActionScript 3 version of a tower defense game. In 8A, I abstracted the code that allowed us to go to a menu and place icons on the menu. I've taken that code now and I've placed it inside our larger game, and I have changed some of the artwork, but it's still basically the same code, just combining 8A with what we've done all the way through lesson 7. And so at this point, if we go into our game, notice I have a menu area is this gray area. This is a tile. This sort of maroon and blue area is a tile, and then this is a turret icon on top. And so this guy, if I click on him, there's a range ring that appears around him. Notice I have a different graphic for the teddy bear because we have a top-down view for the teddy bear. We have a top-down view for each of these 4 toys. And the idea of the game is the toys are going to be shooting health food at the junk food. Right now I have 4 of these guys coming out randomly. We're going to take a look at that code. And at this point, if I just click, right now the turrets are just following the mouse, but if I click on that, they will all shoot at wherever the local mouse location is. And so that's where we're at right now. We're going to get all this code in today. Most of it you've already seen, so I went ahead and put the code in here, and we'll just talk about it. The first thing is, after I place the menu area, I'm going to go to menu area. So we created an MA, which is a new menu area. So menu area is the class, MA is the object. And so to access the methods in menu area, inside the menu area class, I have a method called add tile. And it takes in one parameter. It takes in tile. So let's go there and take a look at that. This is my menu area class, and notice that it extends movie clip. It has an array called tiles that I'm declaring here, and I set tiles up by saying new array. So this by placing this declaration up here, this array can be accessed by anything inside of this class. And now inside my method add tile, notice this is a public function. I'm saying add tile, and it takes in a single parameter of type tile. So when I call this method, I have to send it a tile, and it's going to locate that tile according to the X and Y coordinates. And I discussed this in my last video, but here this is going to be, this 50 refers to the space within the menu area, that dark gray bar that extends vertically. So 50 units over on the x-axis. Remember, the dark gray bar was 100 pixels by, I think it was 600, so this guy is going to be roughly in the center. The tile's roughly it's about 100 by 100 square, and so 50 is right in the middle. It's going to place this guy on the x-axis right in the middle of the menu bar. And then the Y is going to change. It's going to take this array tiles, which is going to start off at 0. So 0 times 125 plus 100. So the first tile is going to be placed at the location 50, 100. And then I push T into tiles. So now tiles has a length of 1. And then I add that tile. When I come back in here next time, I'm going to go ahead and say, well, tiles now has length 1. And so this guy is going to be tiles.length is 1. That's going to give me 125 plus 100 is 225. So the Y is going to change depending on which tile I'm pressing in. All are going to have the same X coordinate, so they'll line up perfectly along the vertical axis. So menu area is going to have this method, and so I'm calling that method from here. MA is my menu area object, so I've instantiated the class menu area. I've made an MA as an object, and I can access the method by saying MA.addTile. I've created a new tile. Now this tile is a brand new tile, and when I create a new tile, I'm sending in 3 parameters. Let's go back and take a look. Here's my tile. I'm sending in an image parameter of type displayObject. I'm sending in a number of type int, and I'm sending in a function I'm calling turretCreator. What's a little bit tricky about this is that one way that I can do this is I can create these fields inside my class, inside my tile class. Notice this guy has the same name, turretCreator, so this is a guy I'm creating inside this class. This is the guy I'm passing in as a parameter. But when I say this dot turretCreator is equal to turretCreator, this guy turret creator is my input parameter, and this dot turret creator is the local copy that I'm having here. Now, what's actually taking place is that this guy is going to be a pointer which is pointing to the same function. But remember what we're doing. The function itself is this guy right here, and all this function is doing is, remember a function, we use the two parentheses, and then the function body exists between these two curly brackets, and there's only one line of code in this function, and it simply says return, and it creates a new turret 1. So for MA, add tile, whenever I'm going to do this, I'm going to return a turret 1. So here we have my turret creator. The image, actually, I'm going to locate that. I've got an X coordinate and a Y coordinate. So I'm placing my icon in the tile now. So I placed my tile in the menu area, and now I'm placing my image inside this, and this is the tile. Okay? And so now I say add child. What am I adding this guy to? I'm adding it to whatever I'm in. In this case, I'm in the tile. So I'm adding the image to the tile. And finally, I'm adding an event listener. And the event listener on the tile is going to be a mouse down listener. So whenever I put the mouse down, I'm going to call this guy called spawn turret. And now spawn turret is this method, or this function. It's listening. So when I press on a particular tile and I have mouse down, it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to create a new turret, and the type of turret it's going to create is according to this turret creator. So turret creator, remember when I create a tile with these different lines of code, for this line of code on the first tile, it's always going to create a turret 1. On the second tile, it's always going to create a current 2. So I'm matching a particular tile with a particular method or function which is going to create one of these 4 different kinds of tiles. And so that's all it's doing. So T, if I happen to be clicking tile 1, is going to create a new turret 1, and so forth. So if T is not equal to null, I locate T. Okay, so T.x and T.y, and now I'm going to go ahead and say add T. Actually, if I put this at, let's say 200 and 200, it will sort of pop out into the middle of the stage. Let's go ahead and see what that changes. When I run this now, if I click on this, notice, well, he's right there. So he's going to pop out and be ready to rock. All right, so now that's how my tile and my menu area and my PhatKids work together. Okay, so remember the other thing was, I think in the last movie, we had this line, it said root as, and it was a main game or something, but this is whatever your document class is. When I go back to my main stage and look at the properties, my document class is what's listed here. This is where my ActionScript AS3 game is going to start. So this is really important, and if I click on this pencil, I'm going to come back to PhatKids. That's my main document class. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. In any case, now let's go back and look at PhatKids and see some other changes we made. Back up in the original version of this game, we had this guy called init turret. And so I've commented out what that would do is this guy would put a turret right in the middle of the stage, down at the bottom. It would create the player mask, and it would add the turret, and so that was just one turret. I needed to get rid of that because now I only want the turret to appear when I click on that. Actually, if I take this back out for a minute, let's see if this works. If I take that out and hit run, no, I must have gotten rid of the resource. So in any case, init turret, we don't want it right now. I can get rid of that guy. And instead, we've got this guy called add turret. And what add turret is going to do is, again, I've got this T. Remember, I'm calling this guy from tile. He's got turret creator, and it says root as PhatKids. So it's saying my most basic layer of this game is the document class, in this case PhatKids, and it's going to call a method that's written in there. It's called add turret, and it's going to send in T. Again, what is T? T came into this method as, I'm sorry, right here, T is a turret, and the turret creator is going to return whatever kind of turret I need. So I'm going to pass that turret in here to where it says add turret. I come back to my PhatKids game, and at this point, this guy passes in T now. So it's going to be, if I click on tile 1, it's going to be a turret 1. If I click on tile 4, it'll be turret 4. And I'm going to add a range. And so the range is also a class. If I look back in my main FLA file and I come into turret, notice I've created this guy, which is a type range. And if I look at the class, this guy actually has some code. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the next one because we're going to make some changes to it. But if I look at, let's see, that didn't come up. Why not? So I want to come into range, say OK, and there it is. So again, this range extends sprite. Could extend movie clip, but movie clips are basically sprites that have a timeline, and so sprites are just a little bit more condensed. Variable range int is equal to 10, and point is the location, or the center point of the location. If I want to change this to something larger, like let's say 30, and ran the program, it should give me a different size, slightly different size range ring. Okay, in any case, this is my range class, and I'll come back. We're going to make some changes to that next time. So this add child range, so I'm going to add that range. Oh, something else the range does, notice that it sets the alpha to something less than full. If I change that to 2 and run it again, it should give me a much lighter alpha property. In other words, it creates that white circle and it's only showing it at 20% of its opacity. Okay, it tells me the height, it tells me the width. It's going to actually take that range. Okay, actually let's change that to 30. I think that's what I wanted to do. And now I can see that that's, no, it's still the same. Anyway, we're going to make changes to that in the next video. So right now, this guy, PhatKids, takes in the range, and TRT equals T. So T right here is my input turret, and TRT, notice, is just a turret. I don't have that declared here, but I did is I declared that up on top. So I can access this anywhere in the main class. Somewhere up here, we're going to find turret. Variable TRT is of type turret, and all I have to do, I don't have to use the keyword new here because T is already being passed in as a turret, so I simply say TRT is equal to T. So now this is pointing to that same turret 1 that was created in memory. TRT.x is equal to mouse x, TRT.y is equal to mouse y, so wherever I am on the root, that's going to be my location of my mouse, and so I'm setting the turret equal to where the mouse is, and then I use this guy called start drag. Notice start drag turns blue, and that's something that Flash recognizes. Start drag means that the mouse is going to drag the turret wherever it is. So when I add the turret, or I hit mouse down on the tile, I call this method, and the turret starts dragging. It's going to follow wherever you got the mouse, and then I have the mask area. We've done that before, and I add this child. So when I add this guy to the main stage, it's going to be following my mouse wherever the mouse happens to be. Now I pressed down on the mouse in order to get this to call this function, but when I say mouse up, I'm going to call a method called release turret. And so release turret is this guy, and notice it does two things. It says stop drag. So start drag and stop drag are two very neat little functions that ActionScript provides for us. It's going to tell the mouse, so on mouse down, I'm going to have start drag. On mouse up, I'm going to have stop drag. And then I say range.visible is equal to false. So the range is still there, but it's invisible. So that works really, really nicely. And then finally, I've got this event listener where I'm going to set the ranger, and the set ranger, the range.x is equal to the x coordinate of the turret. So remember, the turret is attached to the mouse, and now I'm attaching the range to the turret. That's why when I click on the menu, I have two things happening. The mouse is following, I'm sorry, the turret is following the mouse, and the range is attached to wherever that was. When I let go of it, mouse up, this guy's, I did stop drag, so he's no longer following physically or locally where my mouse is, but also the range ring disappears, and he's ready to start firing his bullets. Okay, having said that, the other key thing that's different you'll notice in this is I go back to my FLA file. I've got my turrets, and I've got my generic turret type that I had in the old game. I'm not using that anymore, but I still have the turret class. So I'm very much using this class. So if I look in here, all the code that's common to all of my turrets is going to be in here. Now this is important. Turret extends movie clip. So everything that a movie clip has, we say that turret inherits that. So things that we're taking for granted are things that we're using quite a bit. Rotation, X coordinate, Y coordinate, alpha. All these things are properties of a movie clip. And because turret extends movie clip, turret has access to all of those things. Now the other thing is, turret has a bunch of code in here that we want to be that we want all the turrets to have. And so let's go back and take a look at turret 1. Is turret 1 going to extend movie clip? No, it's not. Turret 1 is going to extend turret. So remember we said that turret extends movie clip, so it has we can say turret is a type of movie clip, and turret 1 is a type of turret. So that means since turret has everything that a movie clip has, plus all that code that we had written in here for turret, now turret 1 has access to all of that stuff. One thing we have to pay attention to is that in my constructor function right here, when I construct turret 1, or when I instantiate this, I need to use this keyword super, the very first line of code, and what that does is it's going to instantiate turret. I can also pass parameters to turret if I want to. So that means that all of this code that's inside my turret class, I now have access to because turret 1 extends turret, and I have initialized or instantiated turret with this one keyword super. Now we're going to do the same thing pretty soon with our bullets. We actually would like to have each of these turrets shoot a different bullet. And remember that in our bullets we did have some special code. So let's go back and see. I've got my bullets are going to be carrots, broccoli, bananas, and an apple. And then I have my generic bullet type. So I haven't gotten I'm not using these yet, but notice I've got carrot, and my ActionScript linkage is bullet 1. So we did the same thing exactly with the bullets that we did with the turrets, and that is if we come in here and look at this, I'm going to notice that bullet 1 extends bullet, and I use the keyword super. Same thing for bullets 2, 3, and 4, and so all the code that's inside my bullet class is now available to all of my bullets. And then I can do special things within each bullet if I want to. Things like I can, I could have different hit points, I could have different cost, I could have different sounds, I could have different images, but all of this stuff, this is the stuff that's going to be common to all bullets. What did I do in a bullet? I have a speed, so I could have different speeds. I could, for instance, pass in bullet, I could pass in the speed here. I could have a default speed of 15, but if bullet 1 passes in through the super, it passes in a number like, let's say 30, it can have different bullets can have different speeds. Different bullets can have different hit points. So again, the stuff that's generic to all bullets, I only have to write one time in the bullet class, and then anything that's specific to bullet 1, I'm going to write that in the bullet 1 class, and so on. So we'll be doing that in the upcoming videos. We'll be doing special code for different turrets, special code for different bullets. So far we've been focusing on the main classes, the turret class and the bullet class, but that's about to change. So that should give you enough information. Let's just go ahead and take one more quick look at PhatKids to make sure everything in here we've covered. I have put in some new guys up here on top. I've got, for instance, turret. I've got my range again, and notice the range is 100. Oh, I guess here's where I would change it. If I put in 300 and ran this, it would give me a different, yeah, that's got a different range right there. So that's where I'm sending in the value of whatever the range is. I've got my enemy, which I'm using down below. I've got my different arrays. I've added this array called turrets. Let's see, loading waypoints. I talked about the timer in lesson 7. And so enemy timer tick and update PhatKids, all of that was done before. So the only really new thing is I've taken out this method, so you can go ahead and get rid of him. And I have, let's see, that was used prior to lesson 8, so I'll get rid of that comment. So these are my input values. Oh, the other thing is when I make a bullet, I'm sending in some input values here. I forgot about that. So we have TX is the X coordinate of the turret, and the Y coordinate of the turret, and the turret range, and I'm sending, or the turret rotation, sorry, and I'm sending those guys in. So now when I make a bullet, I think that happens back from turret. This is a fire turret, Yeah, make bullet. So I say parent is movie clip, make bullet. I'm just sending in the X coordinate of the turret, the Y coordinate of the turret, the rotation of the turret, and that changes in my PhatKids here. Those three parameters are going to not just be hardwired to one turret. Every turret is going to be different, so I needed to use parameters for that. So I create the bullet, I set the bullet X coordinate, the bullet Y coordinate, and the bullet rotation so that it equals those three parameters of the turret. Set up the mask, and I push the bullet into bullets. So I have my array of bullets, I'm pushing my bullet into my array, and then I add it. And now update bullets is going to take, now once it's in the array, update bullets is going to go through this process of every frame. It's going to relocate every bullet as it goes through. I think that's about it. If there's anything else in here I'm not remembering. In the next video, I'm going to go ahead and pay attention to the start position of the bullet. We're going to need that for a couple of things, but that's the key thing, and this is our elegant solution for creating a new turret on the stage whenever I tap on or click on the turret, on the tile rather. It's going to create a new tile. It's going to create a new image on that tile and so forth. So that's it for today. Bye-bye.